Hey, Lucas! The duty officer waved to Captain Thompson. Some girl is calling, says she's hungry. Can you take care of it? What girl? Where's she calling from? Lucas wondered. I don't know, the duty officer shrugged. Little girl, about 6, I guess, maybe older. She's crying. At first I thought it was a prank. I got mad, but she keeps on crying. Well, trace the call. Try to identify where the call came from. Can you do that? Okay, I'll try to figure it out. Thompson turned to leave, but the phone rang again. The duty officer answered and immediately handed the phone to Lucas. Here, talk to her. It's her again. Lucas walked over and he instantly heard the child's sobs. Don't cry, dear. He spoke in a calm, soft tone. Please, tell us what happened to you. Then we will surely help you. My name is Lucas. What's yours? Molly. Nice to meet you, Molly. Where are your parents? Dad passed away and Mom's asleep all the time. She doesn't move and she doesn't answer me. I'm scared, that's why I'm crying. And I'm also hungry, but there's no food at home. It smells really bad here. We'll come to you right now and bring you some food. We will help you and check on your mother. Do you know your address? Lucas asked the girl. It was difficult, but she remembered her home address and told him. Lucas was glad they even knew her home address now and reassuringly said to the girl, There you go, clever girl. Wait for us. We'll be right there. But we're not at home now, the girl added. Then where are you? I don't know. It's a small house with a bad fence. I wanted to go outside, but there's a big angry dog in the yard. I'm afraid of that dog. Molly, I'll be there very soon. Very, very, very soon. Just be brave. Stay quietly by the window and wait. Okay? Okay, the girl replied and hung up the phone. Lucas headed to his car. He decided to go to the address Molly had given him and to ask the neighbors what had happened. His assumptions were correct. An elderly and very talkative woman who lived in the next-door apartment said that the Stewart family was okay until Nick, Molly's father, died. I mean, he loved his wife Sarah very much, Mrs. Spencer explained, but she's such a slacker and so slutty. I don't know what Nick saw in her. He's a very nice guy, kind and caring. I've known him since he was a kid. I was friends with his late parents. I think he fell in love like a boy. Sarah was an orphan. He took her to his apartment, nursed her back to health, and bought her everything she needed. She was unbelievably skinny and very young. Just turned 18 and he was over 27. He wanted a family and children, but this brat just wanted to have fun. She was bringing her friends home, throwing loud parties and getting drunk. What about Nick? Did he put up with everything? The policeman asked. Not really. He scolded her and kicked drunks out of the apartment, but Sarah was always arguing, defending her drinking buddies. She said they were like her brothers. She was going out with them and Nick would bring her home. There were periods when she would live without alcohol for a month and then she would start all over again. They lived like that for 3 years and then Sarah got pregnant. Rumor has it that Molly is not Nick's daughter. That's probably true because Nick is blonde with gray eyes and Molly's a swarthy, dark-haired, brown-eyed petite girl. The woman finished the story. Do you know where she might be now? Molly called the police station and said she was very hungry and scared, and her mother is asleep and not answering her. She may already be dead. Mrs. Spencer, let's think together about where the girl might be. She said she is in some little house and there's a big angry dog in the yard. Where could it be? The policeman asked. A little house, the old lady asked again, hesitated and then shook her head. I have no idea, no. Lucas was sadly silent, then continued questioning, trying to find some clue, but nothing came out. And suddenly, as he said goodbye to the woman and headed for the exit, she called out to him. Look, I once heard that Nick was looking for Sarah in the northern part of the city, on the outskirts. There's some cottages or private houses. Maybe you'll find something there. Lucas thanked the old woman and drove to the outskirts she mentioned. It took him about an hour to find the house, which looked abandoned, but there was a big dog in the yard. The dog growled upon seeing Lucas, but Lucas opened the gate bravely and headed for the house. The dog barked, running away to the side. Lucas took a half-eaten sandwich out of his bag and tossed it to the dog. The mongrel greedily ate it, and the shaggy head of a skinny girl looked out the window. Lucas sighed with relief. He had found Molly. It was undoubtedly her. The girl rushed to Lucas, sobbing with happiness that it was over. When she calmed down a little, Lucas gave her a bottle of yogurt. Molly, take the yogurt for now, and a little later I'll feed you properly, okay? Stay here while I go and check on your mom. What room is she in? Lucas asked the girl. The girl pointed with a nod of her head. Lucas went in immediately, went back out. No expert was needed to know that the woman had been dead for over 24 hours. Lucas went back to the car and requested the police squad to the address. It was already dark when Lucas came home and rang the doorbell. His wife, Rose, opened the door and immediately stepped back in surprise. Her husband was holding a sleeping little girl in his arms. Her head was trustfully resting in his shoulder, and she was asleep, feeling safe and protected. A ginger dog was sitting at Lucas's feet, looking at the woman with sad eyes. "Who is that, Lucas? And whose dog is it?" she asked her husband as she let him into the apartment and helped him put the child down on the couch. "Oh, Rose, there has been so much going on today. Let Molly sleep while you and I go into the kitchen, and I'll tell you about everything. And feed the dog, please," the man said in a whisper. "Lucas, it's hard to get bored with you," Rose spluttered and called out to the dog, who remained sitting in the hallway. Sitting at the table, Rose listened to Lucas's story and shook her head. "My God, fate is so unfair to people. Poor little girl. She's been through so much. So her mother died?" "Yes, she's probably got alcohol poisoning. The owner of that house is in jail. I have no idea how they got there. They probably met a long time ago and she had the keys, but unfortunately they will send the child to an orphanage. I feel so sorry for her. You have no idea." "Well, why not? I know exactly what you feel. You know everything." Yes, Lucas knew everything himself. He'd met Rose when their police squad had been called to the dormitory where the fight had taken place, the two guys doggedly demanding Rose's attention. And even though she didn't want to talk to any of them, they decided for her. A police squad arrived and detained the participants involved in the fight, while Lucas questioned the witnesses and Rose. When he figured it all out and headed for the car, she followed him. "Where are you going? You're not detained," Lucas wondered. "I'm coming with you. I'm afraid to stay here," said a frightened Rose. "But you can't come with me. I have to work and everything, and don't be afraid of these guys. If you need anything, call me," Lucas said as he got in the car. Those guys were released from police a few hours later. Rose, seeing them heading toward the dormitory, ran out of there in a dress and slippers. Lucas walked out of the police station late at night. It was raining outside, and he grudgingly buttoned up his jacket and lifted his collar. The umbrella was left at home as usual. That's when he saw the silhouette of a girl who was soaking wet and shivering with cold. He immediately recognized Rose and gasped in surprise. "Is something wrong? Why did you come out here? And why are you dressed like that? It's raining." "I'm afraid to be in the dormitory. Those bullies won't leave me alone," Rose said, gritting her teeth from the cold. "Aren't you afraid of me?" "No," the girl shook her head. "Well, then let's go to my place. At least you can cook dinner." "Can you cook something?" asked Lucas. "Sure," the girl smiled. On the way home, she told him she was raised in an orphanage and left it only a month ago. She enrolled in a culinary college and moved into a dormitory. At first, everything was fine, but then those two guys started hitting on her. "Okay, you can stay at my place for the night, and then we'll figure out what to do next," Lucas said. Well, he couldn't leave the girl in trouble. She lived in Lucas's apartment for almost 2 months because she didn't want to go back to the dormitory, and then Lucas couldn't resist anymore, and one night he took Rose's hand and looked into her eyes. She didn't push him away, and she wasn't scared. She just smiled shyly and said that she had never loved anyone before, and he would be the only one she would give her love to. And so it was. The entire police department celebrated the wedding at the time. Lucas knew how lucky he was when he met his wife. She always supported her husband in everything and was faithful. Lucas knew it would always be like this, so now he took his wife by the hand and asked, looking into her eyes, "Well, what do you think? Can we adopt a 5th child?" "And 1 dog," Rose laughed, and immediately covered her mouth with her palm because she was afraid of waking the sleeping children. Without saying anything, they walked to the children's room where Michael, their biological son, who was a 1.5 years old, was sleeping in his crib. 8-year-old twin brothers Benjamin and Max slept next to him on the bunk bed. Last winter, Lucas and Rose were on their way home and met 2 little beggars. They lived with their grandmother, who was seriously ill and bedridden. The boys' parents died in an accident, and the old lady couldn't bear the grief and had a stroke. Rose and Lucas helped them in any way they could for 2 months, and when the old woman passed away, they took the boys in and adopted them. Now they had forgotten all the terrible days they had endured and slept peacefully. Mia, a 10-year-old girl, slept next to them on the couch. Rose met her in an underpass on her way home a few years ago. Mia had run away from the orphanage because she was bullied there. The girl didn't speak. Everyone thought she was disabled, but 6 months after her adoption, Mia walked up to Rose, snuggled up to her, and said softly, "Mommy." Mia was now an A student, spoke beautifully, was in regular school, and loved her foster parents very much. After adjusting the children's blankets, Rose and Lucas approached Molly. The girl was asleep, but a tear was streaming down her cheeks. Rose gently wiped it away and said affectionately, "Sleep, sweetheart. Sleep, daughter. Everything will be all right." 6 months passed. Lucas's whole family came to the ceremony where Lucas Thompson was awarded the extraordinary rank. Journalists were taking close-ups of the children's intelligent faces when the mayor appeared in the hall. He decided to personally congratulate Lucas on his extraordinary rank and thank him for his service. He was also well aware that the Thompsons were parents with many children, including foster children. He had a special present for them. "Lucas, as a thank you, let me give you a present from the City Hall, a big house downtown. I've already ordered the installation of a playground in the yard. You'll have it installed very soon. In the meantime, you can move into your new home. Congratulations." The mayor ended his speech, and there was thunderous applause. Lucas and Rose looked at each other and smiled. Then the children surrounded them, and Lucas said to his wife, "Let's take a family picture, you, me, and our 5 kids." "6," Rose whispered to him, and laughed. She tried to imagine what a surprising look Lucas would have on his face in the picture, but she was wrong. Lucas wasn't surprised. He was happy.